Hello and welcome to The Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. Thank you so much for joining us for instant reaction to Tottenham Hotspur progressing to the last 16 of the Champions League. What a show we've got coming your way. I can tell you at half time, we don't know if there's going to be a show tonight the way it was going. My God, there was lots of frustration, built up anger of what was watching and what we were seeing with Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. But thank you so much for joining us. Delighted to have, we got some of our regulars back on The Last Word on Spurs. We've got some of the original boys here back on Last Word on Spurs, talking you through what we've seen over the past 95, 96 and a bit minutes. Crazy games. Let's get into a crazy train. That leaves me to only one man. It leaves me to Mr. McQueen. Lee, Champions League football will continue on Last Word on Spurs. How are you, mate?
Honestly, if that ain't crazy train, we thought under Jose was crazy train material, but my goodness gracious me. I mean, absolutely. I was going batshit again at half time. We were absolutely woeful in the first half. If you don't like sitting 5 yards out your own box and just defending with 9 players behind the ball. However, if you love that as a style of play, and some fantastic Italians and maybe our own manager, for example, love that stuff, then we were fantastic in the first half. But let's have it right. We were absolutely shocking, just like we was against Bournemouth in the first half, just like we was against Newcastle, just like we was against Manchester United and every other damn team we've played this season. Second half, you have to give it to them. I mean, it's unbelievable. That guy, Liam, you say it right there on screen, Bentancur.
He's the reason.
He is the reason, my man.
Honestly, mate, I tell you, this guy, honestly.
Great stuff, mate.
Yeah. Last, can I just say, there's all about 700, 800 of you here. Literally just must have switched over from BT Sport to join us. Thank you so much. We've got a wonderful show in store for you. And that leads me listen to a man that always gives us so much on Last One Spurs. We've got the wonderful Richard Cracknell back on the show. Rich, what a game. There's so much to unpack of what we've just witnessed and watched. Where do we even start, Rich?
Well, evening, everybody, by the way. And yes, Rick, we're normally about 2 hours long on this show, aren't we? And tonight, possibly a touch longer. Sorry,
you're looking for the bingo one already. Conscious of time. There you go. That's your first one.
There it is. Let me just tick that off. There's conscious of the time. So yeah, we're normally about 2 hours long. So about an hour in, you can call half time. When we normally go to the NordVPN advert, I know we're about half time. So first half, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to be like an old ham actor, and I'm just going to fluff what I've got to say about things. But then in the second half, I think I might just turn into Laurence Olivier or like Sir John Gielgud, or I might just reflect Tottenham's performances. First half, I'm going to be Danny Dyer, and second half, I'm turning into Robert De Niro. It's nuts. We are a basket case club, aren't we?
I see Jason's already doing an impression of Spurs in the first half.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone away.
I've got to give a big shout out to Mike. You've got the comment up there. I've got to give a big shout out to Mike Ruddle. He's one of my boys, and he's just landed in Houston as well, in Texas. So Houston Spurs, can you look after Mike Ruddle, please? He's over in Houston in Texas. He literally landed about 3 hours ago. Whatever, watched the match. So big shout out to him.
I don't know, Rich, you want to take that one there? What time's the shit quiz? Did we have unprepared, Rich? Do we even think about that at the moment?
The shit quiz. It was the bloody first half.
First half, yeah, exactly. Yeah, just talk about the first half. If you want comedy shit quiz, just like... Rick, we might as well... listen, just before you go to Jason, you might as well just start in the second half, to be honest. I mean, I don't even want to discuss that first half. I'm sure we will, but... Over to you, Jace. Hold Smiler down out.
Look at that. Look at Jace. Go on, Smiler. How are you, Jace? What a game. Such a game. He speaks as he can't even talk. It's such a game. Let's unmute him. Come on, Jace.
I tell you what, we're a club that I'm told never shows up for big games. We're a club that always bottles it. We're a club that never wins when we should win. And yet we finish fourth. We're third in the Premier League. We're top of our Champions League group. So we must qualify for all these things by losing 36 games in a row. I mean, it's quite astonishing what Tottenham could do. We get battered everywhere we go. We're perennial bottlers, and we've won 6 away games that past the 90th minute. by bottling it and being battered. I mean, I can't wait to get battered on Sunday again. I'm hoping for it. It's a dreadful first half, but the second half, now the emotion and the nerves have gone. I don't think Hugo made a save in the second half. I think we scored twice. We hit a crossbar. I think their keeper made, 2 or 3 saves. So, you know what? That took some character. And without Richarlison, without Kulusevski, with Son being missing, with Mora that's just running up blind alleys, with a Bentancur that, as the game went on, looked more and more injured. You know, they took some bottle and guts to come into that. Emerson Royal even played his part tonight. And we're always critical of Tottenham when we bottle things and that. But you know what? This week we have shown some, if I can say the word, we've shown some fucking guts this week. And, you know, that to me, this week is what to me means Spursy. Not the derogatory term that gets thrown at us. And the only team that are Spursy tonight is the lot in N5 that had Alexis shooting his mouth off in a press conference, that had Kolasinac, that had Guendouzi, that had Tavares on the pitch. And yet again, the only bottlers tonight were Arsenal FC, not Tottenham.
Well,
I love it. They just love a Jay speech.
I do.
We've not even started the show yet.
Up as well because,
I got anger and passion running through me tonight. And I said it at the start of today when I kept reading on Twitter, oh, we won't turn up tonight. We won't this, we won't that. I'm thinking, how do we finish 4th and 3rd and things like that if we never turn up? When does it run in people's mind that we lose some big games, but we won at City. We got a point at Liverpool. We smashed Arsenal 3-0 when we had to. So why do people say we never turn up?
There you go. You've been waiting for him. We've unleashed him on Last Word on Spurs. That's the Jason McGovern we've been waiting for. I tell you, what a show we got in store for you.
Mark Spencer.
As Caden says here,
where's his shot gone?
We'll come and get McGovern in the changing room. I'm not sure you want him on a general day. He's just really excited at the moment. Jason,
you know what's going on if you get McGovern in the changing room?
Yeah, you're getting calls from PM here, Jason.
I'm glad you brought them up down the road in M5 or SW5 or wherever they're called.
Wherever they want to bloody go.
They're playing Thursday nights after the World Cup. Do you get me?
we have got lots to look forward to. And again, I mean, we're going to come on and look back at what was a crazy, chaotic 94, 95 and a bit minutes. But just a reminder, this is how you do need one, that we are delighted to be sponsored by the Beavertown Corner Pin. That is the Beavertown bang opposite your South Stand, our South Stand at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We are bringing you, I think we can now confirm 100%, a Christmas show live from the pin. Further details to follow. But you can now, obviously, of course, get tickets booked and ready for Spurs' next home when away fixture, which will now be, of course, I think we're looking at now will be after the after the World Cup break, I think we're looking at now. So again, reminders on that, you can go to www.beavertownbrewery.co.uk/pages/corner-pin. Jace, did you want to come in there?
Yeah, hopefully it's one where we get battered and we bottle it and we walk away with 3 points again.
He's on one tonight. He's on one. Where do you go from here?
Jace, I'm happy walking away from Beavertown with 3 pints, let alone 3 points.
And England won the cricket today.
Slide that in there. Slide that in there.
The cricket in there.
George, Jace, I want to start with you because after that impassioned rant, it feels only right to start with you. I mean, look, that game itself, I think we can also going into it, there was a bit of an air of trepidation. Obviously, of course, not having Antonio Conte on the touchline, not even really in the dressing room beforehand, what that would mean for Tottenham. But overall, like you've said there, Spurs have showed some real character. They've showed some real desire and are now in a position where they have qualified for that last 16. And again, you've got to say that Højbjerg's kick was literally the last kick of the game. Referee blew it for full time. Spurs celebrating across the pitch. Kane, I mean, I say really at the moment when it matters, stepping up there with that lovely ball through as well, going in through as group winners, despite the fact it changed, God knows, 7, 8, 9 times on the evening. But I want to refer to a point which I think you mentioned in your intro there. Spurs, most points gained from the Premier League and Champions League from losing position. So whilst there is so much to talk about in terms of the element of the style, the approach from Tottenham, what can't be getting away from the fact is that, of course, Spurs are a side that are renowned to being that word called bottlers, But yet we're not doing that this season. We have, like I say, gained the most amount of points in the Premier League and Champions League from losing position. So how do you sum up a crazy, crazy night which sees Spurs progress?
First of all, I think as a neutral, what a brilliant group of football to have, for the entire group to go down to match day 6, for 4 teams to be leading the group, for 4 teams to be in the knockout round, 3 teams were bottom of the group, 3 different teams were in the Europa League. I mean, what a brilliant group for the neutrals. I mean, that's astonishing to have all that drama going on. And you know, football's a funny game, isn't it? Fate. I always feel that there's not a sport where fate plays a part like football. And a week ago, the very last kick of the game, we're on the floor in absolute despair, where a game is taken away from us through a decision that we wait 3 minutes for. And 1 week later, with the very last kick of the game, we're in absolute utopia. It's football seems to do this. It's an extraordinary sport for doing things like that. But you know, it wasn't pretty the first half. Let's be honest. And I mean, if they'd have seen our WhatsApp group at half time, including mine, we were all.
They wouldn't come out for the second half. They saw that group come out for the second half. Jesus.
I think BT said it. We'd had 6 touches in the final third of the completed 6 passes or something. We hadn't touched the ball in their box. Yep. We were constantly giving it away. I'm not sure 100% if that's what Conte wants us to do. I think when the ball goes forward, the ball goes forward and you want to hold it up there. Kane in the first half isn't pressing. He's barely moving. You got Son that gets the ball and immediately loses it, and therefore the ball comes straight back at you. And part of it is that you're actually pushed backwards rather than voluntarily sitting backwards. So I don't think that always is the case, but it was a mess. The way that we conceded with letting the ball run out, switching off for the corner, leaving somebody unmarked. So that's all the things that are thrown at us. But full credit to the boys for the second time in forward, and to have the you know, when we did what we did at Bournemouth, that takes a lot out of players. The physical effort, the mental effort drains a game like that on Saturday. So to have to turn it around on a Tuesday night and do it exactly the same again is fair play to the boys. But as I said, that second half, when you look at it in the cold light of day and with all the nerves gone, they never threatened apart from that one Kolasinac header. That was their only threat in the second half, and we could have had several in that second half. So fair play to the boys. That was and I just want to give a shout out to Chris Cowling and any of the other Spurs boys that have gone out there today. Hopefully they're all nice and safe. That's what an away day is. It's been worth every euro. Chris was in Pacosta Ferreira. He was in Mura. He was in places like that where we've stunk Antwerp, where we've stunk it out. Chris Cowling and the boys deserve a night like tonight. So I hope wherever they are in Marseille tonight, they're having one hell of a party.
Absolutely. Let's come over to Lee. Lee, listen, Spurs do reach the knockout phase of the Champions League. Someone, I mean, I don't know at half times that was never in doubt, but I mean, those who question Spurs' character to win away a cauldron like that was that stadium without, of course, Antonio Conte, without Christian Romero, without Dejan Kulusevski, without Richarlison, losing Heung-min Son and Bentancur mid-game as well. I mean, that just shows a hell of a lot of real determination, desire and character from this team. And again, lots of people questioning Spurs' mentality, their capability, their bottle. Well, second half, that can't be questioned, surely, Lee, on the basis of what we've seen there.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Jason says all of the time, but I slightly disagree with the tactical aspect. If I'm honest, I think we talked about this last pod against Bournemouth. I just feel that it's 15, 20 yards further up the pitch. You know, you've got to be braver in defence. You know, there was times that when you look at the aerial view that we had 5, 6 at the back. Sometimes it was a bank of 5, a bank of 4, and then Kane sitting there on his own. And the reason why the ball's coming back is there was literally no outlet. Sometimes Kane was so far in his own half. It was almost like, you know, one of them Christmas trees. We've got Christmas coming up soon. It's one of them Christmas trees that you think when you get it off the stand, you think, oh, that looks good. And then when you get it home and shake it out, it looks properly fat at the bottom and just really skinny at the top. That's what it looked like. It was just so jam-packed and compacted in the defence. And, BT, they just done a little bit of analysis just before we come on air, and it was perfect. It summed that perfectly. They then switched it and looked at the second half, and it was clear as day what we was doing in the second half. We were 15, 20 yards further up the pitch. Our centre-backs were on the halfway line. And what that means is, when you talk about Kane pressing, Kane doesn't need to press 15, 20 yards and sprint like a son or whatever, because the team are compacted up and we're pushing them backwards. We totally did that in the second half. We didn't do that in the first half. It's exactly the same as Bournemouth. And that's why, just finish the point quickly. That's why I still do think it's tactical. I think we're set up to do that. And people the coaching staff keep coming out and saying, we haven't got the energy for the intensity for 95 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to conserve our energy for the first half. That's what it feels like. And then for the second half of games, we're going to go out there. And that's what it feels like to me. But go on. Sorry, Jason, I'm coming in.
I just think one of the big differences in the second half is that Kane looked a physical beast in the second half. Suddenly, when the ball was going into him, he was competing for it. He was winning free kicks in areas where there was no support, dragging us up.
The pitch,
that helps.
That's my point.
That helps when you've got to have that physical input as well. All the time, you've got to have
15, 20 yards on his own, lads. He can't do that. But there were times in that second... Constantine up, he don't have to run 15, 20 yards to press. He only has to run 5 or 6 yards. And that's what he can do. And that's where he can do damage.
But I just felt there's times in that second half where he was still isolated up front, but he battled and competed for the ball and won us a free kick, which got you up the pitch, breaks up play. I think it's probably half of one, half of the other. A little bit of, I think there's truth in what you're saying. I think there's truth in what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think it's a cross between the two.
Yeah, it's something strange, isn't it, lads? Sorry, Crack.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I agree. Cracks, just to bring you in there. I mean, that was one of the most, I think, tension could cut that game with a knife at points. I mean, that first half, I was messaging you boys at half time saying, I am fearful here. We've got to do a show on this later on. I'm thinking, how are we going to approach this based on how poor that first half was? Because to be honest with you, there wasn't a huge amount of quality at points in that game. But as we said, Spurs started very badly again. Better in the second half for what's been like the third game in a row in that situation. Rode our luck at the end. Very lucky that Collateral snatch header. Jace, I agree with you that we didn't really give them many opportunities in the second half. We limited them to that opportunity. But again, Cracks, we come through this. Another big psychological test under Antonio Conte's men. Last season, they were, it was firmly against us for the top 4. We achieved that. I think, again, going into tonight, many would have doubted, could we have the ability? Could we see this out with Conte not on the touchline, not even being able to communicate with the players? We have done. So from a mental hurdle perspective, Rich, how big is this win? Should we not be underestimating what this will do for the boys in that changing room? And do you think this will maybe initiate a change in Spurs' approach when we look at the way we played in that second half? Or do you think that's the way we've been playing? It will stay like that?
It seems to be exactly that, Rick. It's not changed so far, and we've done this a few times now, but we keep coming out and doing this first half of being absolutely woeful, and then the second half just completely different. We're like Sandy in the film Grease, aren't we? Like first half we come out in a little like rah-rah skirt and pigtails and all pink fluffiness, and second half we come out like Olivia Newton-John when she's in them black satin pants and all her hair's up, and it's just the switch is just incredible. But from what Lee and Jason was saying, it's Kane and where he stands, because Kane he seems to work harder in the second half, but just coming up that 10-15 yards, opposition defence have got to do something about him. If he comes up that 10-15 yards, they can't leave him. Now that defence has got to sit deeper, which means the midfield has to sit deeper. So one man moving up 10-15 yards, and because he's so he's so deadly, the whole team structure of the opposition has to shift with him 10-15 yards, and it just buys us that bit of room to be able to start getting out, and things not so compact. But I don't know, Rick, I'm like, we keep, are we getting away with it, or is this sort of tactical cleverness, and it's a 90-minute game and we're just not living in that world where I don't know, Rick. I just can't make us out. It's a dangerous game to play, but it's working. If this is deliberate to go at first halves like this, to try and preserve energy and then go at teams in the second half, it's working. But I don't know how long does that work for. So it's strange. First half I was livid. I was calling them cowards on Twitter. I was just so livid.
But it's so hard, isn't it? It's so hard, Rich, because I feel at the moment you kind of got two camps. You've got some that are frustrated with the players. You've got some that are frustrated with the manager, and then you've got some that are just frustrated with Tottenham in general. So you've kind of got these three different categories that you've got to try and unpick where you sit in. But the reality was that the second half improvement from Tottenham, I mean, Basuma, he massively helped in that second half. And I can't believe I'm saying this, as did Emerson Royale to an extent. And I can't believe I was saying that, because I think at half time...
But maybe that's where everybody's getting that little bit of space from Kane just moving up that 10, 15 yards. It's giving a breathing space for Basuma to operate and come out. And then they just feed off the positivity that they get from some decent, proactive front foot play. I don't know. We're like nailing jelly to the wall at the moment. It's just so difficult to pin us down as to what we are, who it's down to. But listen, at the end of the day, you can't fault their balls. They're going for 95 minutes. They're showing some character. Like in whatever weird way that's coming through at the moment, there's character there. I'll give them that.
You know what? It's funny though. I mean, at half time, I thought, is Conte trying to troll us here, or is he Agent Chelsea when he's bringing Emerson Royale on the back of that first half? I'm thinking,
I thought it was a betting scam, Rick.
I honestly thought, are you winding me up? Are you really winding me up? But what I will say is, Jace, that for the comparisons out there to Mourinho type football, I just want to nail this narrative, Jace, and I don't know whether you agree with me here, that second half comeback, for all the talk about Conte's approach being similar to Mourinho, I want to say it's the complete opposite. With Mourinho, he kind of went for it, established a lead and sat back. But with Conte Spurs, we sit back, we soak up pressure, we have a deficit, and then we go for it. It's two completely different polar opposite attempts. Would you agree with how that difference in approaches are between Conte and Mourinho to some degree?
It is, but I'm not sure we're doing everything Conte wants us to do at the moment. We're just not playing properly. I mean, Kulusevski's been a big loss to it, hasn't he? I mean, I don't believe that Conte's telling them to do that much different to what he was telling them to do when we put 4 past Villa, 4 past Leeds, 5 past Newcastle, 5 past Leicester, 3 past Newcastle, 3 past Arsenal, 3 at Manchester City. We were just scoring goals for fun, and it was working perfectly well. And I don't believe Conte's got to the summer and said, that approach that got us from 9th to 3rd and saw us score more goals than anyone but Man City, I don't want us to do that anymore. I want us to come up with something that's even more dull to watch. I think the difference is that we just haven't played. There's not enough players in the team playing particularly well. And that's what's hampering us. I don't think it's all down to the tactical system. And I felt last year, I do believe that he wants to sit deeper to allow space for the famous 3 when we get the 3 of Kulusevski, Son and Kane. But you look at it this year, the big difference is whenever we got the ball forward last year, Sonny would beat his man, turn a trick, put one in the top corner from 20 yards. Now, he can't trap the ball. He can't hold the ball. He can't beat his man. He can't make a pass. So every time when we do try and spring, it comes straight back to us. And therefore, I do believe we're being pushed further back than we actually want to be. And we're not able to get up the pitch because it's going those front players and they're just not holding it up like they were last year. And Kulusevski is a massive loss in that respect. And even when you've got Richarlison that's played, Richarlison's worked his absolute socks off, but he's not necessarily one that holds it up and finds the pass, is he? You know, he's another hustler, bustler that sometimes has run into blind alleys and we lose the ball and it comes straight back at us.
Strength of Becky is good at that, isn't he?
Yeah. So I don't think it's all down to the. I think we do want to be a counter-attacking side, but it's not working as well as it did last year because the players aren't playing it as well as they did last year. I think that's a big difference.
You know what's really interesting, Lee? I mean, lots of people talk about, you know, the conservative energy. And it's a point I want to ask you because, again, you do wonder whether it raises that question again, whether Conte is deliberately telling the players to try and win 45-minute games to conserve the energy. I know, again, that's a risky strategy. It's even a crazy analogy for me to even put forward. But as Kane suggested on Saturday, you know, Spurs can only play with freedom when they feel like they're behind. And again, that kind of shows again tonight that you saw that when we went 1-0 down second half, we came out and there was almost this kind of shackles being off the players to some degree and a freedom to go and express themselves with the ball. So I just wonder again, I mean, I'm not going to keep bringing up that World Cup analogy because I know it's really annoying people. And I know, again, there's other 19 teams in the Premier League that are all, you know, competing for points. But are you buying into this conservative energy to some degree based on what you're seeing with Spurs' second half performances over the last 3 games? We've arguably looked so good.
I've got to be honest with you. I'm wondering whether it's one genius tactic of a guy that wins proper prizes everywhere he goes. And he's had a look at it and he's gone, if we can just get over the line in this first half of the season and be there or thereabouts, and credit again, I think a lot of us said it on the WhatsApp group, but Jace definitely said it, brought up a few times right at the beginning. We don't know what this World Cup's going to do. And winning the league is a marathon, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. It's not a sprint. So if you think about a long race over a long period of time, 38 games, you don't want to come out of traps and go really, really fast because in the end you're gonna lose your legs and you're not gonna end up winning the marathon. Whereas actually somebody that kind of sits in a little bit, you know, in the front pack, but not right at the front. That's Tottenham, right here, right now. That is exactly what we're doing. And yes, we might be getting away with it. And yes, certainly that fortress at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Newcastle didn't work. And that would probably have been a bigger blow. I think losing to top 6 sides away from home is everybody's doing it. So that's not just a Tottenham thing, is it? I don't think there's a side that's won an away from home against another top 6 side at the moment. We'll find out again if Arsenal got the mettle to do it on Sunday on an early kickoff at Stamford Bridge, which, by the way, I just want to quickly say, them two clubs are weird, got a weird relationship, haven't they? Like they roll over for each other. It's very strange. But anyways, let's see what happens on Sunday. But coming back to your point, as every game goes on, I actually think that there is some sort of truth in this energy conserving piece because I can't. And it's a little brain, viewers and listeners, right? It is a little brain. But what my brain can't fathom is we've just been through a full pre-season.
Straight Jason's faces when you said that. It's a little brain, and Jason just dead straight looking at it.
But look, we've been a full pre-season with Conte and his training staff, right? And they're meant to be brutal and they're meant to be amazing. So you're meant to be the fittest that you are. If you look at the running stats tonight, Marseille, 104 kilometres, Tottenham, 109 kilometres in terms of a team. So we ran more than them. You'd expect that maybe because we didn't have the ball for so long. So I don't know, Rick. The hope in me is that there is a method, like as Constantine says, there is a method to the madness, which is they are conserving energy. Means back end of the World Cup, when everyone comes back, Tottenham end up being the freshest, fullest team to go on and win the big prizes. But I've got my absolute doubts on that as well. I think there's more hope more than expectation there, Rick, to be fair.
Yeah. Can I just ask?
Just going to say, I mean, also with the tactical thing and the approach, you have to bear in mind there are 2 teams on the pitch. So we always concentrate on our approach. But I think Hugo made the point tonight. When that game kicks off tonight, Marseille start on that front foot and that because they're bottom of the group, but no, a win puts them top. They have something to chase. Like Bournemouth Bournemouth go into the game saying we've got nothing to lose. Nobody expects us to beat Tottenham, so we'll go piling in. As soon as those 2 clubs had something to lose, their approach changed. They suddenly go a little bit more. Oh, you know, we're in the winning seat here. We're Marseille are top of the group. We're top of the group. We're into the next round, and then suddenly you see them. They don't look as good in the second half either, do they? There's a little bit of both in the approach to the game. It's not Tottenham Hotspur don't dictate the entire pattern of the game. There are two teams out there. And sometimes it's a little 50% what Tottenham do, but 50% what the opposition do. It's not all down to Tottenham just to decide what happens in a game.
Yeah, I have to apologise for our watching audience on YouTube. You've seen me kind of looking down. We've been waiting for Christian Stellini to complete his post-match press conference. I'm being so to say Antonio. It's so weird saying another person's name. I feel like I'm almost cheating on Antonio by saying that. And I must say, for those that are listening back to this on their morning commute, you have to watch, if you haven't already, Antonio Conte's reaction from the stands. Bearing in mind, he's in there with Donna Cullen, he's in there with Daniel Levy, completely and utterly losing it like a proper Spurs man.
I've not seen that.
You know what,
honestly,
credit to RMC Sport. It's a wonderful clip. And the passion of that man, look, whether, again, you're slightly against the way he's tactically setting Spurs up, there's no doubt about it. That man is a winner, and he absolutely loves to win. And I know Lee's just showing that there. You can see the reaction. Honestly, Conte just completely and utterly losing it. He's like all of us. Just, it can't help but love him. I know, again, there's lots of, queries about the way he's setting us up. But Cracks, just as Christian Stellini's finished his press conference now, he said that I've had the possibility to talk with Antonio. He was very tired. He lived with the game in the crowd. It's not normal. Maybe he spent more energy in the stands and on the touchline. He went on to say further, it was very difficult in the first half and on our difficulties. We didn't lose our mind. We stayed in the match. It was a terrible goal we conceded. The kick was taken quickly and we didn't react, and we have to learn from that. He went on to say that in the second half, we changed something, and we spoke a lot in the dressing room about the energy we need in the second half, about how we need to press them. And in the first half, we never did that. In the second half, this aspect changed and we played a fantastic second half. So it's interesting. We're sitting there talking about the way Spurs have set up and how our second halves make the difference. Christian Stellini, 100% record for him. Not bad.
Stellini in. Get him a gilet. Stellini in.
But again, do you say credit again to him, Cracks? Listen, a guy that is used to being an assistant, seen Spurs go 1-0 down again, where we keep being called those bottlers. We found a way tonight. And I have to again impress on that point. You know, we were without Conte, without Romero, without Kulusevski, without Richarlison. We lost Heung-min Son, Bentancur as well. You know, we're now in a situation where Spurs have amounted the most amount of points from losing positions in the Premier League, in the Champions League. That's an incredible statement for a club that have got a mentality issue.
Yeah, there are odds, aren't they? We just look so, when we play these first halves, so bereft of any mentality, any balls, any cowardice. But we somehow get it done. It just, everything at the moment is just so at odds with the results from what we're actually doing to what we actually get. It's just yeah, it sounds like, Rick, that they had a bit of a sort out at half time, because Lenglet was saying we didn't know whether to attack or defend, and at half time, because of his English, and which is decent, by the way, but I think he can only. Yeah, he can't be diplomatic. He can't find the words. So all he does is he sort of tells the truth. And it sounded like that they had a real sort out at half time, which is, yeah, which I love. I absolutely love that, because like if they haven't, then they've come out and sorted themselves out. Fantastic. But yeah, there's something there, Rick, isn't there? There's something to build on, you know, because there's a lot of players out at the moment, and then we're missing Conte actually in the dugout. But again, we've dug in second half, got something, and this is a few times now we've done it. It must be tactical, because these games just keep following a similar pattern. So we can't be told not to play like that in the first half, but keep playing like that in the first half. Well, at least one game it would be different, but they're just following this same pattern. And I don't know. There's something there. There's a Conte mentality running through whoever turns out.
Agree. Agree. And
you know,
we talk about leaders second half. There is Sonny, and Lee just
Adrian.
Can I just say, just on Sonny, Cracks, I'm going to come back round to you in a second.
He looks a bit hurt, don't he?
Yeah, Stellini on Son says we have to check on him tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, being the operative day of Wednesday now. I know we're losing the week here, but Son felt better in the dressing room after the game and he was able to celebrate. We're not sure if this is concussion yet. It was an injury to his face. His eye is swollen. So obviously we will know more from Spurs later in the week when Conte is back in the pressers for the Liverpool preview. But Cracks, to finish up with you before we go.
He looks done, doesn't he? He does. He looks done. I actually I said in the group earlier, it was a good minute or so before the ref allowed the trainers to come on and deal with him, and he'd had a real bad whack to the head, and I wasn't very happy about that at all. That should be an instant allow medical help to come on. He looked concussed to me. He looks like it could well be broken. It really went. Yeah. So there's every chance.
Yeah.
Well, you know, let's wait and see. It's speculation, but from the whack he got and the way he reacted to it after I'm not hopeful he's about on Saturday.
It's worth making that point as well that the concussion protocol in the Premier League is that he will have to rest for 6 days, meaning that he would be out of that Liverpool game. And again, we are obviously not giving an update at all yet with regards to Richarlison and Kulusevski, although there were reports earlier today that Richarlison should hopefully be back in time for Nottingham Forest. Again, that's a week today. Just to finish up before we go for our first break of the show for listeners and audio, Cracks, Antonio Conte has now won as many Champions League games in charge of Tottenham as he did for Inter and for Chelsea.
Wow.
Want to get your thoughts on that before we go for a break?
So does that get called Spursy? Yeah, that's Spursy.
Well, when he first came, Jace, everybody went, well, the Champions League's his Achilles heel because he's got a terrible record with Inter, he's got a terrible record with Chelsea, and then here we are now, and he's already caught that record. It's you know, even with this group, a lot of people are saying that looks like a Europa League group, really, but. They're tricky games. No, I know. But they can be tricky games. Sometimes when we play teams with a bit of a pedigree, we actually play better. We are a better side generally. Yeah, the underdog. Yeah, because Tottenham will walk that group. Well, yeah, guess what? We did. It might have been the last kick of the actual group action, but but we came through it. But you know, they're hard yards. Some of those games that when we go away to some bigger clubs, it might suit us a little bit better. So we've shown some character to get through that. Conte's shown some character because that would have weighed round his neck like a millstone that he had such a poor record.
Oh well, listen,
and now
how the mood was Conte though, was it? Crackers, Rick, Jason, viewers, listeners. You know, John, one of our own, John Little White Rose. He said earlier on the group, I think we haven't won away in Europe for 2 years. That's what I think that's just
that again shows mentality.
And, you know, Ren,
Pacosta Ferreira.
I mean, come on. This is an absolute joke. People are sitting there talking about the poll. I've got to talk about the poll. Lass. I mean, come on. We'll talk about the poll later because he got so many votes. So it's
beaten 3-0 by the bloke that was in prison.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
he wasn't even there. He was in prison. I mean,
it is a night. It is a night to put all that to bed. Like I say, we hadn't won in 7 European away games, and tonight Spurs proudly do finish top of the group of the Champions League. And to Antonio Conte, we go marching on. We are going to go for our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Taking into that break, you're going to hear from a delighted Christian Stellini, who has a 100% record as Tottenham Hotspur coach, we would say now. So that's taking you into that break. For our watching audience here, we've got over 1,000 of you watching us live. So again, thank you so much for all of your incredible support. It's a late night. You love last one on Spurs late nights. And again, I have to say a massive thank you to the wonderful Lee McQueen, the terrific Jason McGovern, and the superb Richard Cracknell, who guide you through a night in which Spurs have qualified successfully. And before we do, like I say, go into even further detail, I just actually want to share the stats from today. More because Jason's back on, so we have to. More because Jason's here.
Don't show me XG, please.
More because Jason's here, we can show you that XG figure. So
please don't show me
how
XG.
shit that
there,
XG
I mean, listen, I can tell you going into half time, those stats weren't as kind as them, believe me, as that game finished. But that XG, Jason, I know you hate XG, 0.68 from Tottenham, 1.70 from Marseille. Could have been a very, very different game. But again, you draw your attention to the shots there. 16 in favour of Marseille, 7 to Tottenham, 4 shots on target from Marseille, 3 for Spurs. It was a game really of, you again would say, 2 halves. And Spurs coming out on top. And we are going to get into what we saw the lineup for tonight, which again would have...
Rick, just quickly, 12 yellow cards for Marseille.
That's a late night last one Spurs graphic error there. Bearing in mind, we've got 11 players.
12 yellow cards.
The blue book, by the way. They are not from the blue book, them yellow cards, I'll tell you.
I think Trout got booked 14 times for that shot on the Reece, so please excuse that. That's what happens with a late night last one on Spurs. All kicking off in the back room here. Someone's just been sacked. Apologies for that. Someone's off the stats tomorrow morning. We're going to try and feed in some listeners.
I don't think much of the producer at all.
I don't know. Who runs this gaff?
I mean, if you can't get yellow cards right, no wonder I danced around XG as a stat.
Was it Paul Durkin in the world? Who was it who issued the 3 yellow cards? The ref was Durkin, wasn't it? Yeah.
Graham Poll.
Oh, good, Graham Poll, yeah. Ricky Graham Poll sacks
fine.
tonight, you are. Ricky Graham Poll sacks.
Cards, they missed the Champions League now.
To be fair, that doesn't match out, as Greg says there. It doesn't match out the coaching staff getting booked 12 times. Like, here you go. There's your bloody stats. And one of the crackers there, Eagle Eye on the stats, who doesn't pay attention to the show when it's live. Right. What we can say is the lineup from tonight. Lee, let's come over to you for all of the fuss about Spurs' team and the way they would set up. And we know, obviously, of course, we were without Kulusevski. Go on.
Rick, you've got them lined up in the wrong kit. That's another graphic error.
I knew that was coming. We did go with 3-4-3, Lee. We was, of course, without Kulusevski, Richarlison and Romero. Named, of course, we had the wing-backs of Sessegnon and Perisic. Must just make a point, as Jason's going to pick me up on this. They did interchange throughout the game. I think we actually had Perisic starting on the left with, I'd say, Sessegnon on the right. But that did change throughout. It did mean, of course, that Eric Dyer joined the left footers of Ben Davies and Clement Longley, which meant he continued on that right centre-back role in place of Romero, with Conte clearly not trusting that axis of Sanchez, Doherty and Emerson. Who could blame him, really? What was quite funny is ahead of the game, Christian Stellini was interviewed by BT Sport, in which he was asked about the fireworks going off, in which he said, "We slept very well last night. We enjoyed the fireworks, but they were a little bit short," which I thought was quite funny. But ahead of that game, that team read Lloris, Dyer, Longley, Davis, Perisic, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Sessegnon, Lucas, Kane and Son, with a bench of Forster, Austin, Doherty, Emerson, Spence, Tanganga, Sanchez, Sarr, Basuma, White, Skip, Hill. Lee, team, honestly, was you happy when that came out? Be honest.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I think I didn't think that Sessegnon and Perisic at right wing back and left wing back respectively worked the first time that we did it. So I was a little bit surprised on that. Although I haven't been massively impressed with Perisic, I'm not going to lie. But again, he gets another assist tonight, and his experience in the Champions League. These are the nights that you want your really experienced players up there. So you got Lloris up front, yeah, fair enough. So look, I mean, I think
There's a yellow card. There's your yellow card.
Yellow card, mate. Loads of yellow cards. What I quite liked at the weekend, and obviously again today, that he played Longley in the middle. I quite like Dyer as a right centre back. Obviously not in the place of Romero, but I think that in the summer, everyone knows that watches and listens to this show, I was absolutely loving the fact that we were very, very heavily linked with Bastoni, because I'm absolutely convinced that he is going to be a well beater for us. I still think he's going to come, by the way. And therefore, on the left-sided centre-back, Guardiola or Bastoni. And then when Longley came, I was thinking, well, maybe he's going to bring Longley in as a cover for a centre-back, so CCB. And now Antonio Conte's playing in there. It's quite interesting. I think he gives a bit of balance having a left foot in that centre. I don't know what you guys think, for example, but I just felt that Eric Dyer sometimes as a main centre-back, especially recently, it is the main position, isn't it? So in that back three, so any mistake, it's almost like your goalkeeper gives a mistake away, it becomes a goal. And Eric had been making a couple of mistakes, hadn't he? The Newcastle game and obviously the Man United game before. So with Sanchez coming in there and obviously not trusted, I mean, I want to love Sanchez, to be fair, but it's so difficult to because he made some, horrendous errors. He was like Bambi on ice the other night again. So therefore, Dyer coming on that right side was quite good about it. I mean, Bentancur and Højbjerg, I think they've been absolutely outstanding, both of them. I think all of us have said Højbjerg has been like one of the players of the season. Now Bentancur is just stepping up. I mean, Højbjerg's put that in the back of the net today. I mean, I know we'll get to it, but holy shit. Team.
Yeah, the finishing.
Listeners. I mean,
I'll just say there's a reason it's called the engine room, and both of those players' engines are just absolutely phenomenal. When you think the amount of games they're racking up between them, it's quite phenomenal. And they've got
that's the 95th minute.
Yeah, and again,
that's not the 71st minute. That's the 95th.
But again, that kind of again goes back on the fact that all that work during the pre-season, the Conte effect, that is obviously having a clear effect because there's no doubt about it. Late winner, of course, against Bournemouth, late winner again tonight. And when you look overall, I think Spurs have had
95th v Chelsea, wasn't it?
Yeah, 95th v Chelsea, the header. I think when you look at it, Spurs have had 4 wins in the 90-plus minutes under Conte, more than any other side. There's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. There really, really is. But
he's the reason, mate. He's the reason. Bentancur. That's the reason. He's the reason. And let me tell you something, Ricky. You are Bentancur, son. You had a good game tonight, mate.
Cheers, mate. Right.
I'm a bit worried about him, though, all seriousness, because he had a tight hammy, and that's a problem. Because if that's a pulled hamstring, he's out 4 to 6 weeks, isn't he? And that ain't good.
Yeah, but again, I say there's been thankfully, again, in terms of that press conference, nothing untoward coming out with regards to Rodrigo. Hopefully, like I say, it was just a case of just on the night, a little bit of a hamstring pull, but he should be okay. We'll obviously get more from that from Antonio Conte later in the week. But boys, just want to start with the game itself. Conte up in the stands alongside Spurs.
When you say start, Rick, just having a quick say. When you say you want to start with the game, we're 47 minutes in.
Just the story of the game. The story of the game itself.
You're starting the story of the game.
Yeah, is that all right?
In the pod. That weren't a prelude, right?
That wasn't a prelude. No. That was just the intro. That was just the intro, son.
Book him. Book for time wasting, Rick. Book for time wasting.
Do me a favour. Get him on the yellow card already. Can't you give him a sin bin for half hour? Do me a break. Conte up in the stands to begin with, of course, with performance director Greta Steinson behind Daniel Levy.
Was he? You've told us that 8 times. Get on with it.
I'm trying to tell you if you give me a chance. But the way we started the game, Jason, let's actually come over to you. Listen, we were nervy early on, you would say.
We've said that. Move on. Liverpool preview.
He's a nightmare. He is a nightmare. Sonny, Jace, how concerned are you by that injury potentially for him? The way in which he's fallen, the impact he could have on the team. Is that a massive concern for you, Son, when we're already without Kulusevski and Richarlison? Can we cope?
It's a massive concern, as is Bentancur's, when you're 3 weeks out of a World Cup. And so if there's any element of doubt in their minds, we know how important it is for Sonny. We know how important it is for South Americans to represent their country. A World Cup comes once every 4 years. And so, when you're looking at players now starting to miss out on World Cups, like your Reece Jameses and things like that, Pogba's been ruled out of the World Cup, wasn't he, yesterday? If Bentancur's is even a slight strain, is he really going to risk it 2 weeks from a World Cup? I mean, and this will affect. I think this will affect all Premier League teams, not just Tottenham. This weekend, and particularly next weekend. I mean, you think when we play that Leeds game, England kick off 8 days after that, the World Cup. So I think it will affect. I think it will affect a lot of Premier League teams, where particularly over the next few weekends, you'll see players that are suddenly. It won't surprise me if most teams are without 4 or 5 players going into those games who've got slight strains, and there won't be too many high press chasing lost calls games and things like that. I think it's if this was a normal occasion, I'd think Sonny will probably be back for Liverpool. Bentancur, they might try and rest. But when it's 2 weeks out from a World Cup, it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see either of them until after the World Cup. I don't know that for sure. I just wouldn't be
Yep.
surprised. I kind of feel like with Charlison's and all that, forget it till the World Cup's on. And if we see them, it's a bonus. But I don't think you'll see really committed players anyway now.
Yep. Yeah, this is one for the bingo card. Conscious of time. Get that one ticked off. Cracks, come over to you. We said about Sonny that, look, that was a big blow. He looked devastated to go down. Spurs switched to a 3-5-2 with Lucas supporting Kane up top. I think the concern was that as long as that first half went on, Kane become more and more isolated without Son as we went to a 5-4-1. Excellent save from Lloris to push away Vertraut's effort for a powerful half volley. And then the goal itself from Marseille, I mean, it can only be described as a real mess from Spurs. We had Sessegnon try and almost shepherd the ball out. Then the linesman pointed for a goal kick, only for the referee to overrule him.
Was it a corner?
I don't think it was, but again,
it was a corner.
It was it? I didn't see the half-time chit-chat where they showed it.
They said it was a corner, but then from that quickly taken free kick, I mean, Mbemba, he's completely unmarked, Rich. We've got 9 Spurs players there in the box. And again, the whole point
Switched off, Rick. Switched off.
Yeah,
that's the schoolboy errors that sometimes that's where we're going to have to improve is that sort of thing. Yeah, he's twice.
West Ham throwing. Remember?
Yeah. We switch off. Don't switch off. You switch off at this level, bang, you're done. You are done. Everybody was still sort of, arguing the toss over what it was, what it wasn't. You ain't got time for
ready.
that.
We wasn't ready. We wasn't ready.
Just wasn't ready. It's finite details, Rick, like that that's killing us at the moment with some of the performances. It's almost like the first touches we take. Your first touch has to be setting you for your second touch, for the ball away. Our first touch at the moment of a lot of players means that we are a split second, 2 seconds, getting it under control to go with the second pass, the second phase of the individual's play. And that's killing us because that 2 seconds, someone's on you, bang. It is that finite. And it's that switching off, it's that terrible first touch, it's tiny details, but they kill you. They do kill you. And the less of those mistakes that you make, the more chance you've got of actually doing something. So it was that absolute schoolboy. Cess looked lost tonight in phases of that game.
I agree.
Absolutely lost.
Yeah, he had to come off, I think, for his own sake. He just didn't look ready for that. And again, that's a worry, isn't it? We got a player there that Conte. And listen, again, I'll say this with Conte. He has shown tremendous patience with Cess, tremendous faith in him. And again tonight, you just wonder, you look at Brian Hill, a player that has showed glimpses. I'm not sitting there saying he's going to be the next Messi. I'm not sitting there saying he's going to be the next big thing. But from what I've seen from him, he's looked really good in those cameos. And I just wonder, if only he got given the same amount of allowance time, which Cess has had, I wonder if he would have seen a player by now. But again, it's probably another question for another day. But Lee, coming around to you, Spurs' first shot of the game did not arrive until the 7th minute of added time when Kane tested, obviously, former Spurs keeper Paul Lopez. But, I mean, this is a Marseille team, Lee, that were 5th in Liga. They're 11 points behind PSG. And Spurs made 0 touches in Marseille's penalty area in that first half. I mean, being honest, going into half-time, how worried was you, Lee?
I was totally worried. I was smashing on the WhatsApp group like the rest of us. I was tweeting as well about, I think I said I was embarrassed to try and be positive on against Bournemouth when it was exactly the same scenario.
You've only said that twice in 4 days now.
That's exactly, mate. Exactly. So 35 minutes against Bournemouth, first shot on target with their reserve goalkeeper. This is Marseille that had a 2-0 at the weekend, 2-0 up, and they let a 2-0 lead at home go down to 2-2. And we never tested the goal to keep until the 52nd minute. 7 minutes of added time, as you said, but still 52 minutes gone past and testing. And we only tested him because we went 1-0 down. There's the irony. I can guarantee you now, if that was 0-0 at half time, we wouldn't even had a shot on target because it's like something goes in our heads. Oh, right. Oh, actually, maybe we need to do something now. So very frustrating. I mean, just looking at the stats, first half versus second half. The second half, we only had 2 shots on target. We had 1 on target in the first half. We only had 2 in the second half. The two important ones, those they went both in the back of the net, didn't they? Clearly, but so it's a tough game, tough away game, hostile atmosphere. You know,
Yeah.
Chris and Max Dewar, I think's over there as well, and a few of the lads are over there that we know, and the girls. So fair play to them, 2,000 Spurs fans. I mean, you couldn't hear them, could you, at all? And I know they were singing hard.
No, I mean, to be fair, it was a cauldron. You got to say, Marseille. You know, whatever you think about their league position or whatever, or again the way in which they do that before kickoff. I mean, you couldn't hear the Spurs fans for a degree.
I always say, whether or not this is right or wrong, like I always say, in Europe, at the top table, if there's any Arsenal trolls in there, by the way, you're not at the top table, are you, at the moment? You're playing like third tier European football.
Lee, I do have to say, there's been a real lack of them in the comments tonight, isn't there? Funny that, isn't it?
We've got a lot of pure Spurs. But I don't feel.
Don't tell me they've bottled turning up on a Champions League night.
Yeah, cool.
Who'd believe that?
They're watching Emmerdale, aren't they? But look. The thing is, with the Arsenal, let's move on from that. Look, the thing is with the fans. In the second half, you could hear them and you quietened them down. You know, it's a tough place to go. I know we say it and then we joke about tough places to go, but I always say in Europe at the top table,
that's on the bingo call.
You get a draw. It's a good result, regardless of where you go. Do you know what I mean? You're sitting there and you're thinking to yourself, "Oh, this is like a Europa League." Don't kid yourself. This is Champions League. This is top table football. You go away. There was, that whole stand was empty. 13,000 fans not allowed in. They still had 57,000 in there. That's more than Highbury, innit? I mean, sorry, that's more than the Emirates, innit? But look, at the end of the day, it's a tough place to go. So a draw would have been a fantastic result tonight. It would have got us through as well. But to go there and win
and top the group,
absolute brilliant result to go and top the group. There's no doubt about it. The character in this team is there, and that's why maybe he's building that. He did build this as a final. And as Jay said right at the beginning in his passionate rant, we didn't bottle it. We went there and we won it. And so we won a final away from home in our minds. That's huge for building that character.
Yeah. Can I just say, Jay, you're going to be proud of me. We're nearly an hour in and we've nearly done the first half. How proud are you for me for that? And how hard do I work for this? We're now 56 minutes in. I
genuinely mean it. The cricket's on in a minute. It starts.
We've just gone through.
Listen, earlier.
I don't believe you're having this conversation. We've just finished top of the Champions League group. We've qualified on the back of that first half, and you telling me that the bloody cricket, sod the cricket, can wait.
I thought Josh Butler was superbly, wasn't he?
I thought he was superb with the bat.
Superb performance from Josh Butler. And then for a little Sam Curran to take those couple of wickets at the end, superb.
Right, get those 12 red cards up again. Hold on a second. Get those stats up again.
I'm looking forward to playing Sri Lanka in the next game because I think if you get past Sri Lanka, get into your semi-finals, we're there.
Cracks, that's got to be a red, isn't it? That's got to be a red. Get the red card out.
Yeah, straight red soon. Time wasting, McGovern.
Simbin him. Jay, just to finish up on that first half, 14 completed passes in the final third, right? And only 4 successful passes between Perisic and Moura completed. I mean, can I make it even more worse, Jace? This is the XG stat for you. 0.04. Is there a worse XG in history than that for the first half, Jace?
Rick, you've lost me with the XG. Just move on now.
But honestly, the way you went into the end of that first half, be honest with me, could you foresee this happening? Honestly.
No, you couldn't, but we have turned games around. And like I said, Marseille suddenly were in the driving seat. So you think they might not be so keen to push forward as they have been. So no, I'm not sitting here saying at half-time I definitely thought Tottenham would win the game, but I didn't think the game was beyond us. But we needed one hell of an improvement in performance. But we have seen us improve performances of late. So I certainly didn't give up hope. That's for sure. Yeah,
well, I mean, let's say that, again, going into the half-time, it kind of followed that narrative that we've seen with Spurs, where we sat back, we soak up pressure, we concede, and then we come out roaring for the second half. And that's where we're going to go to next. So we are going to go for our next break of the show for our listeners on audio. For a watching audience, it's time for Rich to get the bingo card out. And you know what's coming. We are delighted to be sponsored by NordVPN. Now, I always make that joke about where we're going to be around the world with Tottenham. We're pleased to say, with you on your Champions League journey, you are going to continue to need NordVPN. For Jason, it will be lots of underwater volleyball, whatever. It's a cricket from, of course, wherever he wants to go. But listen, for the draw, which is going to be coming up, which we'll try and get you the date on for that. The boys might have to give me a bit of a Google for that, where the draw is. When did anyone know
the it was Monday? Did I hear it was Monday?
Monday, the draw?
I thought I heard somebody say it was Monday. I think
Monday.
so.
Well, wherever you're going to be for the draw, you will need Spurs in and around whichever country we are chosen to go to for Nord. It will allow you to change your location settings. It means you can watch all your family favourites, from Love Island to Take Me Out to Jace. Anyone you want to recommend?
I was just thinking, Rick, the first half had 7 minutes of injury time, and it was still quicker than the first half of this show.
He didn't read the script, did he? He didn't get the script. You can go to NordVPN right now to get yourself a huge discount plus a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's www.nordvpn.com/LWOS. Right.
Bingo.
Guys,
Got it. I've got a line.
we're going to full house here. I tell you, the way we were playing that second half. Right, second half. Well, listen, we thought we were being trolled at one point. Lee, coming over to you. Conte calling for Emerson. Emerson coming on for Sessegnon. Got to be honest with you, it wasn't the most inspiring substitution. I think I messaged you boys and said, right, I think Conte's an agent now for Chelsea. Get him out. But all honesty, Spurs level and a lovely, lovely free kick from Perisic swinging it in. Clement Longley, Lee, well, I think if you said who was going to be a hero tonight, I'm not sure how far up on the list he would be, but great header, plied it home beautifully. And there's no doubt about it. Spurs, even from that moment of the second half, we started so much better than what we was in that first half. And I just love the fact from Conte, no celebration, Lee, just motionless as that went in. Conte.
I think it's because Daniel Levy was sitting about one row in front of him and a couple of seats, and I think he'd been hearing it murmured saying, "This football's turgid. This football's rubbish." So I think Conte couldn't say much when we equalised. No, it was a brilliant ball in, absolutely phenomenal delivery. And I said earlier about Perisic, and then I did caveat by saying that's another assist for him so far. So they're racking them assists up a little bit for him. But another, Giovanni Vio. I mean, this guy is just literally another
one for the collection. Another one for the collection.
Another set piece of whipped in there, the quality of the ball. Fantastic header. I love it. I love it when players, you see it in slow motion. It shows how much they're properly giving it, like the neck muscles and that, really trying to get after it. And he did, and he stuck it in the back of the net. Brilliant header. Really pleased for him. I like Longley. I think that I think it can be underestimated sometimes how much the Premier League is obviously very different to other leagues. I think he's coming. He's coming in and out a little bit. I quite like him in that centre back role, the CCB. Yep. So look, well done to him. I'm pleased for him that he got his goal. And boy, Rick, did we need it? I mean,
agreed.
Completely different game, wasn't it? Completely different game in the second half from that perspective.
Can I ask you, Cracks, for you, just because Lee brought him up, Giovanni Val, is he the club's best signing of the summer?
Well, I mean, Lee's probably got the blue book on this, and I'll refer to the right honourable gentleman on it. The goals that we've scored from set pieces, they form such a huge basis of what we've done, and it just changed everything, didn't it? It silenced that crowd. It got us on the front foot. It lifted us. It brought us back in. Goals change games. I know you can have your 12 yellow cards and your XG of 0.04 and stats and possession and this and that. The only stats that matter is the scoreline. Simple as that. And it just changed the game. It really did. And it's obviously working, because not only are we really good now at set pieces, we were shocking a couple of seasons before, weren't we? We went weeks, months without scoring from a corner, without scoring from set pieces. We didn't have free kicks tonight. Is Kane off of free kicks now? I can't remember the last one he's taken.
I'm trying to remember. He hasn't had any in the last couple of games. Whether we again see that as being the move going forward is another question.
Be interesting to see if we've got one that's sort of in or around the edge of the box there, which he normally steps up for, whether he now won't. But he's totally changed us, hasn't he? I mean, obviously he's going to be screwing from what happened with the goal we conceded, because if you're good at actually setting up to take the free kicks, by default you'll know what it takes to defend them as well. So I would think he'd be raging over that, but we just switched off with that corner and didn't set ourselves. But yeah, it totally changed the mood. The whole stadium quietened, and it just got us back into it. So it was just it just came right at the right time, and then we're off, aren't we? I was raging, Rick. I was absolutely raging. I kind of celebrated. And I was screaming all sorts of obscenities as to why we wasn't doing that in the first half. It was just such a weird mix of emotions. But an important signing. He's been worth his money.
You know what, Jace, just to come over to you on that, I don't know whether you picked up just how brilliant it was from Kane to actually win that free kick in the first place, because if he doesn't do that, we don't get the free kick, we don't get the equaliser. How much credit? You mentioned about Kane being a real beast in that second half, a real captain performance. It's a night for leaders. You want your men to stand up and be counted tonight. And Kane in the second half done that and contributed to Spurs getting the free kick, which led to the equaliser, Jace.
But I said that first half, he wasn't doing that first half. But by being the bully, because we know he can be. We know he can be, and it's been a big frustration of mine in him this season that he doesn't seem to be at the moment. Balls into the first half, he doesn't win a header to just flick it on and things like that. But second half, particularly minus Son, so he's more or less having to pretty much then play on his own. We saw that Manchester City beast came from last January, where he suddenly started to win the ball, hold it up, and he'd done it numerous times in the second half. Drew the foul. He did it towards right at the end, didn't he? When he went down towards a corner flag, another foul comes in. And so, you do need that, and that helps the team as well get out. When you're under pressure and you knock that ball forward, somebody's got to hold it up and give you a chance to get up the pitch. And he was doing that second half. Much improved performance second half from him as well.
Yep. And Lee, just coming over to you, it was quite a funny moment where we thought at one point Christian Stellini got a yellow card. Standing in for Conte, but it looks like, I think, to quote John from Really White Rose, I think it was Alan Dixon, which is Daniel Levy's brother-in-law, and of course the player liaison officer. And I think John put it quite nicely, the Brad Friedel impressionist. Did you? I mean, I think even Ali Gold, bless him, I think he even reported at one point he thought it was Christian Stellini. Even everyone's getting involved in yellow cards these days. That's where those 12 came from, if you're wondering, by the way.
yeah, that's what it was, mate. That's what it was. Yeah, he did get booked, didn't he?
Would you? I mean, like I say, in that moment, was there a confusion for you? Did you think it was Stellini? Who do you think it was?
Stellini got booked, surely.
No, it wasn't. It was Alan.
It was Alan Dixon.
Haven't they changed the rule now that any member of the coaching staff who causes a yellow card, it's actually the head coach that gets the yellow card?
Oh,
really?
Poor Conte. Yeah, he's getting it then. He was sitting next to David.
I think you're fine.
Hold on, Conte's in the stand and he's still getting booked.
I think part of that, Rick, I think
Tudor was running on a pitch in the game.
I know.
Did you see that? He was actually on the pitch.
He didn't get booked. So I think you're saying that automatically goes to Stellini, Jace.
I think part of the reason for that is that you used to have that whoever the manager was used to almost tell one of the backroom staff, right, you do all the haranguing at the fourth official and I'll concentrate on this. And that way, if anyone gets sent up to the stand, it's you. So I think they've cracked down on that football. I certainly think in the Premier League, if any member of your coaching staff gets in trouble, it's the head coach that gets the cards.
Can we have that for podcasts? Because if any of us get a parking ticket now, we can send it to you, Rick.
Send it to Rick.
Yeah, Ricky, for the attention of Ricky Bentoncourt. You can pay this 65 quid parking ticket.
I had one on Sunday. I literally was going up to the bloody car as they put it on. It's even worse. Sorry, I already processed it. I thought, I bet you fucking processed it.
You should have parked the bus instead.
I tried to. I couldn't fit it in there. I couldn't fit Conte's bus in. Joey says almost as bad as putting a World Cup in the mid-season. I completely agree, Joe, with you. Absolute disgrace. And I can't even appeal the blade decision because I was part double yellow and I couldn't get out of it. Cracks showed me a yellow card for it. Cracks, to stick with you, Cracks. Perisic, what a massive block in this game. Right place at the right time to block Sanchez in the area. Alexis Sanchez. I mean, that block there was heroic from him, wasn't it? Because that was goal-bound.
Yeah, and caught him on the fire as well, because at one stage you're thinking, is that his hand? unbelievable. Really, really good. 12 yellows to the opposition.
So you boys laughed at me. Those stats were right. I told you. You know, taking the piss out of me. Those stats were right. I told you. 12 yellow cards about right. We just right. There was 12 members of Tottenham's coaching staff there. They all got a yellow card and it all got passed on. So thank you very much, McGovern. There's your answer. Can I also just say on Kane, sorry, Cracks, you want to make that point on Perisic?
Fantastic block. But, you know, talking of blocks, he's been round one, hasn't he, Perisic? He's been round the block. He's experienced. He knows what to do. He's a Brad Free. What is his name again? Sorry,
Alan Dixon.
And isn't he?
He's Daniel Levy's brother.
Right. So he's got to go in to see Daniel and go, Daniel, I've been issued a yellow card, because he's going to get a fine for it, isn't he? He's going to go in there. And he's going to go like, Can you pay this for me, please? Daniel's
not paying it, mate. No way.
Daniel's going to be, I'm busy. Yeah, leave it on the desk. I'll come back to that later. But if you don't pay it within 7 days, it doubles, Daniel. Yeah, I'll take care of that. No way.
Can I just say, you mentioned earlier, Lee, coming over to you, we saw obviously Skip replacing Bentancur. We are waiting for an update on the hamstring, but again, I think we won't probably get an update now until Conte's presser ahead of Liverpool. But again, I have to say credit to Harry Kane. I mentioned it to Jace earlier, winning a really good free kick towards the end of the game. I think, again, you have to say second half, he worked so hard up front. And almost it feels weird that, listen, I don't want this, but Son going off seemed to, I don't know, it just seemed to make Kane feel like the main man again, almost like he had to rise to the occasion. And Jace, I know you're shaking your head there. I agree to some degree that, listen, I want Son on that pitch. We can't afford for Son not to be there when you think we've already got Kulusevski and Richarlison out. But I do feel Kane's game went up an extra 60, 70% in that second half. And whether it's because, you know, it's the fact that it's the Champions League, it suddenly dawned on these players that, look, we've got to get a result here, otherwise we're going to go out. But I do feel that second half was a lot more like the Spurs we saw back end of last season, where we found a way to get a result in which we had to, and the pressure was on. And then a moment in the game, Lee, Kolasinac. Now, if anybody written this was going to be typical Spursy,
honestly, mate, he should have
4 yards out, chance to send Spurs down to third in the Europa League, could have been an Arsenal player, and in true fashion, he bottled it.
Totally, it's like Naeem from the halfway line.
Does that count as arsey?
Definitely. That was like Naeem from the halfway line, wasn't it? Back in the day. We loved a bit of Naeem from the halfway.
Did you boys not think that was destined for the net, Lee? That looked like it was going in all day long. I've seen the pictures. I've even seen the pictures, Cracks.
It was harder for him to. It was harder to miss it.
Yeah.
It was just weird. It was like, how did he miss it? I watched it like on the playback about 3 times. It was like, how have you missed it? I mean, listen, it was delicious, wasn't it? Absolutely delicious. But they've all got served up tonight. And he was the cause of it. It was just easier to score than miss. So it was lovely, really Spursy.
Yeah, absolutely. Apparently. And then obviously we had Brian Hill coming on for Lucas Moura. Hill getting a few minutes. Lucas Moura again for Tottenham tonight. We'll come on to him in a second. I mean, again, wasn't the most inspiring performance, but listen, he's there to do a job for the team. And then we get the winner. And I mean, coming over to you, Jace, look, it was Skip actually coming on, intercepting the ball, Kane breaking forward, lovely pass outside to Højbjerg. And to be fair to Højbjerg, at that point, the bloke could barely move. You could just see he was absolutely knackered, but not knackered enough where he put a leg out, weighed up his options and put the ball in the top corner. And just an incredible way to end the game. Massive celebrations, even Paratici down there with the players. And Højbjerg is almost becoming now, Jace, a real potent threat in front of goal. He's becoming almost one of the most important players in this team. And we laugh, at one point how people were saying drop him. He's undroppable, isn't he, Jace? Undroppable to this Tottenham team.
Well, it was a brilliant finish. He was desperately unlucky with the one that hit the crossbar, which was a fantastic effort.
Yeah.
But I mean,
look, I even ignored that for you to try and speed it up. Aren't you proud of me? I'm taking out the big points.
He's come up with some really big moments this season. Big moment at Chelsea. It was his through ball for Cess. No, he's as you say, where people have been critical of him, he's answered a few this year, hasn't he? So I thought that the only part of those last few minutes where I got worried was when Skip and Hill should have gone into the corner flag and didn't, and they broke on that, and I thought, oh, what are you two done? But I think the other moment of Højbjerg's game that I loved was the rugby tackle on Alexis Sanchez.
Oh yeah.
Well, that was important though, because he got booked. He misses the round of 16 now, so he's out of that game. He's out of that.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah, he will miss that. That's a good point. He will miss that first leg.
But I think over 2 legs we'll beat Real Madrid anyway, so that keeps him nice and fresh for the quarterfinals.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, play that first half like that. We'll be absolutely fine. What's there to worry about? We'll be all right.
89% passing accuracy for Højbjerg tonight. 5 interceptions, 1 shot on target, 1 goal. Obviously, at the crossbar as well.
Yeah,
bloke's running the show, mate. As Andrew says there, he's not the dustman anymore. Crackers, he's the postman. He's always delivering. So I think he was absolutely brilliant. Brilliant again in the second half. Look, everyone, I've had my say in the first half. So, but yeah, second half, different game, and that leader thing you talked about earlier, Rick, about needing our leaders. Thought Hugo had played well today. I thought Kane stepped up, as we've just been talking about, and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg stepped up. They are your players that you're looking at for to try and lead this team on, and they did it. You can't grumble that, can you?
No, you can't. But Lee, the context of winning that game, do you honestly believe now that will give the boys? We keep waiting, don't we? We keep saying we're waiting for it to click. Lee, do you think it's going to click, or do you think what you're seeing now is how Spurs are going to operate when you see a winner like that, and again the Bournemouth result? And is there going to be a change, or is this what it is, Lee? Honestly, be honest.
It's not. Look, I think there is a change because it wasn't like this lot at the end of last season. In the back. Look, I still think there's an element of when the business end of the season starts. That's when Conte gets his team going. He talks about suffering a lot, doesn't he? We have to suffer. But the reality is, it's almost conditioning us to be able to suffer because, mate, I was suffering in the first half. Don't worry about that, like everyone else was. But do I honestly believe that that we can kick on from there? We have to, Rick. I think for everybody that's negative, I mean, I've got to talk about the poll because we're an hour and 16 minutes in, and I ain't talked about it.
Go on, do the poll.
I simply put a poll out on Twitter. And I know Twitter isn't the barometer for absolutely everything, but I go to the stadium. I don't go to the away games as much. So I haven't got enough loyalty points. But I go to every home game right in the South Stand, and there's no one that sits around me or anyone I talk to in the ground that talks about Conte out, like in the stadium. I think the stadium fan base may be slightly different to the social media fan base all of the time, but I never hear of Conte out, for example. So I just put it out there. I know Rich, Crackers, I know you kind of talked about this as well earlier in the week on the WhatsApp group and on Twitter. Are we still behind this guy? I just wanted to get a real consensus of, are we behind this bloke? Because, some of the football is turgid. Some of the stuff that we're watching in the first half of games and all that sort of stuff has been really hard to watch. So I put a poll out. I said, look, no stats, no bias, no nothing. Simple. Conte in or Conte out. That's what I wanted to know. And we had nearly 11,500 votes, right? So that's a serious amount of people that are voting. And 94% of people voted Conte in because they're sensible, right? Because they understand where we are. So I think that poll in itself, we're looking at 600 people basically going, no, we want him out. They might be Gooners, who knows, right? It might be West Ham fans. But the reality is that 94% of people on that poll want him in. And I think that's the right thing. He's been in a year now. I think, is it a year today? Isn't it? A year today. So
year
what
today.
Another milestone.
Look how far we've come out yearly. Let's just be clear. A year ago today, we've just, we've had a weekend. We've just been beaten by Man United. Obviously, of course, 3-0, 3-1, I must say. We are preparing to face Paco de Ferreira, or as Rich would call it at that time, it was a catch up on ITV4, was it, Rich? Where you and Costa had to press the red button. Be honestly, I mean, in a year, how far have we come?
Phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Like no one. I know that some people, including all of us, everyone watching and listening, have been frustrated with us at times. I'm absolutely convinced the Premier League form, or where we are in the Premier League, we're only riled because Arsenal are at the top, and you have to fair play to Arsenal. At the top, fair play. If Arsenal where Liverpool are and Liverpool where Arsenal are, everyone will be waxing lyrical about Tottenham in a title race or can they catch the big two. But it's because Arsenal are there, it's hurting us a little bit. But don't worry, Spurs fans, because we get told that we're bottlers, but 5 out of the last 6 seasons, Arsenal have been above us at this stage of the season. And 5 of the last 6 seasons, we finished above them. So don't worry, history is on our side for that as well. So look, I mean, I just think that if we're in amongst it, when the restart happens and we go again in January, look at going back to Jason's point right at the beginning of the show. I know that was ages ago, viewers and listeners, by the way, at the beginning of the show, wasn't it? But going back to what Jason
About 4 hours ago, wasn't it?
No,
I've got the word for 5 minutes, so Jason, don't look at me.
There is some shows out there that do 4 hours, by the way. But just from the beginning of the show when Jason said about it, you like that like crackers. To be fair,
I like that one. Look at that inadvertent little.
But what Jason was saying,
that's a jab.
What Jason was saying at the beginning of the show about kind of being in amongst it and like going again in the second half of the season, we did it last season, so we know that we can do it, and we've got a better squad with better players than this time last season. And we've got a year with Conte, and we've got that coaching underneath. I think it's inevitable that we finish in a better scenario. We will collect more points in the second half of the season than we did in the second half of last season. And we were collecting 2.15, I think, 2.1 points per game. We're on track to have one of our best ever seasons in the Premier League. I mean, let's be honest, we've had our best start ever in the Premier League after the first 10 games. So I think we want it. We've got to get behind them. We've got to get behind the team, and we've got to start as a fan base. We've got to start believing that we can change something and do something. We are part of the issue. Us fans, us supporters, me. I'm talking about me as well. We are part of the problem when we constantly tell players that they're not good enough, constantly tell that this ain't good enough, that ain't good enough, we want this football, we want that football. We are constantly saying it over and over again. We have to eradicate that from where we are. And one of the reasons why we got top 4 last season was the atmosphere at them stadiums, the atmosphere, the away atmosphere that was happening at the back end of last season was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And we've got to get that back. And I know it's hard. I go to all the home games, viewers and listeners. I mean, I get it. You're watching turgid football. It's very difficult to get behind them. But if there's a method in that madness, and if we're coming out and having exhilarating second halves, let's try and get behind the team where we can, Rick. Do you know what I mean, boys?
Completely
agree. No, not that.
Can I just say, talk about energy there? Go on, Cracks. Do you want to come in there? Go for it, Cracks.
Just to temper that, Lee, slightly, in that some of those players simply aren't good enough. I mean, they're playing to the best of their ability, but for us to able to really kick on, there is some of those players that now have reached the end of their road with us. That they need a new challenge. We need somebody new. So you are right overall to get behind the team. But within that, there's devil within that detail of sometimes Conte's not above criticism for some of the things he does and says, and some of those players too. They rightly get criticised. So overall, you are correct. But one or two of them are never ever gonna kick on. But it's how you approach that. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You have to sort of say, look, okay, I'm behind you, I support you, but listen, you're not the one. You're not the one for me. So there's a balance to find. It's about being fair, isn't it? Just be fair and balanced.
But again, tonight I will say, boys, the fact we've qualified now, hopefully that gives the board the incentive now to, as Crack says there, give Conte even more funds in January. Look, if we can get it right like we did last January with Bentancur or Kulusevski, just add a couple of subtle additions and maybe move out a couple of the players that simply aren't good enough, then this squad has got the capability under Conte to really fight for the big things. We're going into now, like I say, a break for the World Cup in a couple of weeks where Spurs, please God, they're still there, right up there in amongst the top 4. in the Champions League, we've qualified. We're in a situation where hopefully, listen, we're going to, fingers crossed, get past Forest in the Cup. We've got the FA Cup to come as well. There's so much to look forward to. And I think it's a time to just look back and be happy in where we are right now, because you go back a year ago and you know that feeling a year ago, we were lost. We didn't know where we were going, where we were heading. Like Lee says, we have got a plan. We've got a vision of where we want to go. And that is the most exciting thing. And talk about commitment, Jace, tonight. Bentancur, right, with a hamstring issue, which we spoke about, he's won 50 yards to go and celebrate with Højbjerg seconds after he gets the winner. So, in a way, hopefully he can't be that bad, but lovely to see that, again, that
he's probably worse than his hamstring injury.
But honestly, Jason, isn't that lovely to see as a group there, that commitment, that togetherness there to be there for each other in those moments of joy?
It reminded me when Wanyama ran 50 yards to celebrate with Lucas Moura in the corner. That's what it reminded me of. No, it's the commitment's there.
Yeah.
You know, I think with us, we're not as good. In fact, we're nowhere near as good as we want to be.
Yeah.
But we're a lot better than we give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
Because like I say, if we never do this, and we never do that, and we always bottle it, and we're so Spursy, how do we finish fourth? Why are we third?
Yeah.
You know, you've got Manchester United this season. They've beaten Tottenham. They've beaten Arsenal. They've beaten Liverpool. They go to get a result at Chelsea. They're 6 points behind us.
Even Newcastle, and listen, don't get me wrong, Newcastle looking really good now. They're behind us as well. But the way the media are talking, you think Newcastle winning the league, and they look really good. They played against us really well, I have to say, they did. And
there you go. You've got spout shite with O'Hara, who suddenly thinks Newcastle are this wonderful thing, and I'm thinking, you know, Newcastle got a much better squad than Tottenham, and you're thinking there's no Romero, there's no Kulusevski. There's no Sonny's gone off the pitch. There's no Richarlison. Bentancur's gone off the pitch.
Conte's not even in the stands.
Conte's not in the stands. Take 7 out of Newcastle side and see if they go and get a result tonight. And then tell me whose squad's better.
Yeah.
You know, there are players in our squad that we know are not good enough. But when I hear people like that spouting and hollering that this team's better than us, and that, you know, Gabby, a bondable bore who thinks just about any team's better than us, I think, what are you on about, man? How can we constantly finish in these top positions if we are as bad as everyone says we are? That's why you shouldn't always listen to outside influences, depending if you let them influence you. You shouldn't. Shite station. Can I just say, to cut the shout outs, Basuma, I thought that was probably his best half of football for Tottenham that second half. He really used his strength on the ball.
He needs more confidence, though, Rick.
Yeah, he needs to have more games, Lee, as well, doesn't he?
He does.
Do you not think, Lee, he absolutely thrived on that tonight? Champions League, big game to qualify. Look, he absolutely loved it. And we also have already spoken about Højbjerg, Bentancur, incredible. Perisic tonight, I've criticised him quite a lot last one on Spurs. I thought he got much better as the game wore on. Was pivotal, of course, for Longley scoring. And again, Lloris, I think Lloris was given actually man the match after the game. He did save from Vertraut's powerful half volley. Couldn't do much about the goal, but apart from that, really handled everything that came his way. So, yeah, I think, again, overall, and I've got to say as well, people won't like me for saying this, Emerson Royale, I thought he had a really good second half for Tottenham. I know people will laugh at me for saying that.
Talking about balance, that's what Crackers was talking about earlier. Talking about balance, he gets a lot of stick, and probably rightly so, but you've also got to balance it out with, he did well when he came on tonight. He did well when he came on tonight.
Right, here it goes again. Get your shots ready. Conscious of time, we are going to go for our final break of the show. For our listeners that are on audio, take you into that break. You're going to hear from Owen, I think from the Anfield. We've got Anfield review, and we've also got Dave O'Cop giving us their thoughts ahead of the game against Liverpool. Jace, we've had opposition previews for 5 years on Last One on Spurs. Why are you looking so surprised?
I don't care what any of them have to say.
Well, we always get a
Hang on, Rick.
No interest in what they have to say.
Rewind. Was that Dave O'Cop doing a preview? Did I hear that right?
It's not. Obviously, I think that's his. I think it's his stage name, Dave O'Cop.
I reckon Rick's made that up, though. To be honest, because he can remember.
I will get. Listen. It's gone past midnight here. It's very late. It maybe isn't Dave O'Cop. I've given the bloke another name, but he won't mind. He'll love it. He's a Liverpool fan. Dave O'Cop. Give him that one. He'll be loving that.
His Butler got his 50 yet?
I'll tell you what, I haven't heard from any of these previews, but they've all said Mo Salah's going to score the winner.
They actually haven't. I think all of them going into it quite underwhelmed. And do you know what? A Liverpool game tonight. Do you know what, before we do that, they won 2-0 tonight. Do you know what, before we do it, I have to quickly ask, boys, actually, before we do the Liverpool preview, who do we all want in the next round? I know it's Monday. We won't probably get a chance to discuss this beforehand. Lee, but whilst I bring up who the teams are that have qualified, and they are from left to right, we've got Bayern Munich, Benfica. We can't face any of the English sides. That means we've got Club Brugge in there. We've got Dortmund. We've got Eintracht Frankfurt, Inter Milan, Napoli, PSG, Porto, Real Madrid. This still says we've got 2 teams left to qualify. Is there more games to come?
Yeah, because there's tomorrow night's games.
Tomorrow night. So sorry, we've got 14.
A lot of them teams now, Rick, because we top the group. A lot of them teams we can't face. We can't face Bayern. We can't face the English team. We can't face Real Madrid. We can't face Porto. So
we can't face anyone playing Thursday night either.
Well, that was a good 5 minutes, wasn't it? Edit that out, Desmond.
No. Tonight, we can face Bruges and we can face Inter Milan.
Yeah, Inter Milan, and we can't face Frankfurt, can we? Because they was in our group. Is that right, Jason?
So of tonight,
can we face Arsenal, or you can't have Arsenal, Dynamo Cheeky Girls, no Dynamo Burgers, no.
Bodo Glimt or anyone like that. No.
I won't do it.
Isn't that a band in Poland, Bodo Glimt?
That's when Arsenal went to Lapland, wasn't it? A one shot of goals.
Crackers.
Rick, Monday at 11 a.m. when the draw's made and they open those little plastic balls and they pull out the pieces of card. Yeah, we get who we get, but there's one that they'll open and it will. When they take it out, it will say this.
Not Arsenal.
Not Arsenal. So that's one we can't face. Not Arsenal.
I love it.
No,
right.
What's interesting? No, just quickly on the Arsenal thing. What's interesting? I didn't realise this until so come on Zurich, right? We'll go and get our Zurich kits on tomorrow, right? Because if Arsenal don't top the group, they have to go into a qualifying group. They have to play an extra match to get into the knockout stage.
They'll win their group.
I know, but let me get excited for a bit, Jason. Jesus. So if Zurich go and take some points off them, then PSV win, then they don't win the group.
So, have interestingly, the teams you told us there, who do we actually want for the next round?
Well, Jack on screen there. Jack S says Spurs versus Inter's written in the stars, isn't it? Conte to go back to the San Siro. I want the big. I've said from day one, I want the big teams. It wouldn't bother me finishing second.
I do.
Okay, because I want the big teams. I want Champions League for me is about testing yourself against the absolute best. And I don't think we should be shitting ourselves and worried about getting spanked 7.
No, you're right. We'll save that for the first half of the game, Lee.
No, yeah, the first half, obviously. But no, honestly, I that's what it's all about for me, because it's a cup competition, the best one in the world, and you want to go and face the best people. Like Cracker said earlier, sometimes when we go against these bigger teams, we're the underdog, and therefore, the shackles are almost off. I don't want to go and face. Who did you say we can get? We can get Dortmund, can't we? Actually,
Dortmund, Club Brugge. I think Salzburg. King Carlos says here.
I don't want Bruges.
No, I don't want Bruges. I don't want Bruges, because Bruges, everyone expects us to go and beat them, and that becomes a tough game. It's not a big, massive tie. A Dortmund would be great. The yellow wall versus the wall at the lane. That'd be a good tie.
I think Inter or you can get AC Milan. One of those. AC would be okay, I think, and if you get Inter, you do. I'd always love Real Madrid, but they've won their group. But I hope we get Real Madrid in the quarterfinals. I always wanted to play Real Madrid.
That'd be in the quarters, mate.
Yeah. Always won that.
Okay, so we all shed out
on English teams further along down the line. When we play Man City and whatever, it's horrible.
Yeah. So we're all of the opinion, just to be clear, boys, we all want a big team.
Big one, yeah. Okay. Even PSG. We've never had PSG, have we, in Europe?
No.
So even PSG, you think, it's at least it's a new name, new stadium to go to, new team. Yeah. I'd back our front three against their three. So
I wanted to say something quickly, Rick. I wanted to say something on 13 yellow cards there, Ross. Look, Rick, I wanted to say something quickly on the Champions League thing, because one of the things that struck me is the first year that we got into the Champions League, bearing in mind, someone just brought up there about AC Milan back in 2011. That was the first time we ever qualified for the damn competition, right? As it stands at the moment in terms of the Champions League. That's like 10 years, 11 years ago. It's relatively new for us, and we've only actually been in it 5 times. I know. This is our 5th time. I know we've got into the final and stuff. But when Gareth Bale, and I was there against Inter Milan, I was in the stadium when Gareth Bale got that hat trick. No one talks about the fact that we were 4-0 down at half time. Like no one remembers that, and no one also
10 men.
Yeah, 10, and we also lost the game. It doesn't feel like that, does it? It felt like Gareth Bale, hat trick. Oh my God, it was Gareth Bale, the coming of Gareth Bale. The point I'm trying to make, probably badly, is why can't we have that mentality? Like when the Champions League was so new to us, it wasn't that we cared if we lost or not, but there was no pressure. We didn't go into it thinking we must win. The world is dead if we don't win this football match like tonight. Whereas in the first round, when Harry got in there, we're going to have a go. It was just about enjoying the fact that we're playing top level European football. Why can't we just do that? And that's what the point I was wanting to make is because it makes it a lot easier to approach these games if you're trying to enjoy them. And I'm talking to the players. I know they'll watch the show obviously, and they will be watching it right now on the plane home. But I'm talking to the players as well, trying to enjoy what we're doing. What we're doing right now should be enjoyable. We should be enjoying this journey. We've just qualified for the knockout stages in the Champions League.
We can't enjoy this, then what's the point of football? If we can't enjoy it, what's the point? Yeah, but I don't see what's the point though. If we can't enjoy these moments, again, you have to listen. Remember where we were as a club. Again, for me, growing up, Spurs were finishing mid-table. 14th was our position. Going to school, 14th was our position. And you have to look at where the club is from, then to now. What we 20 years later? God, I'm feeling my bloody age here. And listen, we're in a position where Spurs.
You got a bit of time, Mick. Don't worry.
Yeah, I don't know. No, the way my late nights are going here, I don't know if I have. I tell you. But quite honestly, you look at the way we're performing now. This is a club that has been around. You said the other day, we're 5th in the average Premier League table overall. Spurs are consistently competing for the Champions League.
We finished 5th.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about and a lot to come. So,
the big difference is this time last year we were knocked out, albeit by COVID, but we were knocked out of the Europa Checkatrade.
That's right. Yeah, the Pig Farmers Weekly, wasn't it?
We were 9th in the Premier League and 3rd in the Checkatrade Trophy, like in the European version. Are you joking me? And we're now 3rd in the Premier League, and we've just got round of 16 in the Champions League. You've got to go to work tomorrow, people, with a massive smile on your face, pump the chest out with a cockle on it, and we're proud. It's good. Yeah. Nuno said he'd make us proud. He didn't quite, but we should be proud tonight, to be fair.
And in that year... And don't forget, in that year, we've bottled every game and we've never turned up for one.
Okay.
Right, what we are doing is, second time now, we are going to go for our next break of the show for our listeners and audio. You're going to hear...
Get on with it.
You've been delaying for 15 minutes doing the draw. Right, we've got Owen Mayers from the Anfield Edition podcast, and we have also got...
Again? Wasn't he on 10 minutes ago?
You didn't let me go to the break, did you? You didn't let me go to the break.
Where's Dave O'Cop?
We've also got Dave O'Cop. We've also got Dave O'Cop joining us as well. Thank you so much. We've still got 800, 900 of you watching us live right now thinking, what the hell is going on? This show finished 4 hours ago.
Dave O'Cop. Have we got a preview from somebody from Spurs called Eddie Bang opposite your South stand? Dave O'Cop. Carry on, Rick.
Absolutely.
I love the way I'm getting criticised. Like, it's the bloke's name, it's not mine. Why am I getting in the neck?
I'll tell you what, though. It is bang opposite the South Stand.
After this, I'm going to lose Dave O'Cott for preview. So thanks, lads. Appreciate it. I tell you what, unbelievable. The lack of...
You don't get on with it soon. I'm going to need a bloody haircut. Takes so long.
Right, boys, Liverpool to come at the weekend. It's a big game for Spurs. Liverpool, of course, for them, they're on the back of 2 defeats in the Premier League to Forest and Leeds United. Jason, I'll start with you, as you can't wait to get on with whatever you are doing there, with that vibrating thing in the background. Tell me what your thoughts are, Jason, ahead of Liverpool.
What's Dave O'Cop said? I haven't heard what he says yet.
Dave is... I've actually not listened to it myself. Dave, bless him, actually. You know what? I will say about Dave. He's literally just recorded this at, I think, the ground for us. So please admire the guy's commitment.
Cheers, Dave-O.
And thoughts of the game, Jace?
Let's see what type of team we've got first. Liverpool, they've won tonight, haven't they, Liverpool?
I don't know, you're delaying me now.
Yeah,
Make your mind
they
up.
won
You told me
2-0,
you know
mate.
what
They
was
won
going on.
2-0 they won. They had to win. They had to win 4-0 to top their group, but they won 2-0.
I'm pleased they won tonight because I couldn't see Liverpool losing 4 or 5 games in a row type of thing. So I'm actually quite pleased they've got a win tonight, and they'll come, perhaps with a few cracks covering the paper covering the old cracks there.
You really shouldn't.
I think we
really shouldn't talk about cracks, and you've got that going on in the background.
I think we all know how we'll play. Let's be honest. It'll be get men behind the ball. Liverpool will have the ball. But can we get? It's a little bit worried, isn't it, about Kulusevski where he is, because we saw him go vigorously warming up at Bournemouth, and I think most of us probably thought he might be on the bench tonight. Then he's not involved again tonight. So whether he's broke down for a second time, whether Richarlison is back for some part, can Sonny play? I don't know. I think if we get the type of team that we want, then I fancy us to get something. But I have no idea what type of team we're going to field. So it's like finger in the air and see which way the wind's blowing, and we might win, we might lose, we might draw.
Okay, prediction, Jace. Let's get that out of the way for you now.
I'll go for a 2-1 Spurs win, but that's a real guess rather than it's just guessing. I mean,
no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean that's what you have to do generally with the predictions. So I appreciate that, Jace. Really, really do. Let's. He's deserved that tonight. He's been winding me up for the last. He's been winding for the last hour and a half. I've lost Dave O'Cop now for future Liverpool previews. I'm really annoyed. He's a bloody good previewer, Dave O'Cop. And I've lost him now. Listen, forget about Dave O'Cop for a second. Lee, let's come over to you. They've had a disastrous start.
Who's done Davo's? Have you done the one for Davo?
No, I've not. He's not asked me. No, he hasn't asked me.
You've been sacked before he has even got one.
I've definitely gone now after what you've done. After you've taken the bloke tonight.
Sack's got.
Dave O'Cop got Ricky sacked.
I'm in the cop. I've been copped over by this show, I tell you. Liverpool. Right, no one ever got me, right? I've conscious the time when this show could have ended half hour ago, and these boys are carrying it on, all right? Don't ever got me for this.
Does Davo make more sense than Spout Shite do?
Not answering all this. Move on. I thought I needed the politician's answer here, I tell you. Lee, let's come over to you. Liverpool, 9th in the Premier League. They have made a disastrous start. So, Dr. Tottenham, see you now, or confidently going into this one?
Well, I think Dr. Tottenham might have turned up against Marseille because I don't think they've won at home for 4 or 5 games. They didn't turn up, so fantastic. Hopefully, the Dr. Tottenham, as like Jason was saying earlier, has been put to bed a bit. Liverpool's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we didn't get beaten by them last season. Obviously, 2 draws, 1 at home, 1 away. I don't think a draw for us is good enough because we lost against Newcastle. So I'd have probably taken a draw in this match if we'd have beaten a Toon. But we need maximum points. So I'm a little bit like what Jay said. Let's find out what's going to happen. Like we know we're going to start the first half. We're going to try and soak up the pressure. Mohamed Salah's going to try and get in behind. We're going to give Liverpool loads of confidence. Robertson's probably going to come and put a lead brake on someone and not even get booked. Trent's going to put some badass crosses in for Nunes to stick on his head. And we'll be very passive in that first half. We'll probably go in 1-0 down and then we'll come out and do what we did tonight, like we did against Bournemouth, like we've done the whole season. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Son. I think Bentancur will be a massive miss. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. But
that's if he does miss the. That's if he does miss the game. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
tonight. He's run 50 yards tonight to celebrate Bentancur.
Yeah, he might be all right. He might be all right. He might have just been trying to manage the game, mightn't he? With Decky, I think it's an interesting one because if he's fit, he comes into the team with almost a shitload of pressure on him because all of a sudden everyone's going to go, yay, Decky's back. Right, we're going to go and win 4-0. And that's obviously also not going to happen. So I think
he'll come back rusty as well, in fairness
he's
to
going to be rusty.
We've seen how Lucas Moura's rusty.
Yeah. And what a game to come back to Liverpool as well. I mean, the reality is...
Well, it's just that it's the latest kickoff on a Sunday, isn't it? So all the other teams are played. So it's classic Spurs. We know what they need to do. Yeah. And can we go and do it? Hopefully Chelsea will turn Arsenal over. Not often I say that, but hopefully Chelsea will turn Arsenal over and then we can turn Liverpool over and we can start to reduce the gap a little bit because they've got a big gap at the moment. And we've reduced it 3 games to go, 4 points ahead of us, and we done them. But they're 5 points ahead with a game in hand. I know game in hand is against City, but we need to reduce that gap a little bit. So I'm going to go with Jace. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Tottenham win. I think this is our time to get over the line against Liverpool.
You know what's fantastic? I know you boys won't be able to see this, but there's a tweet that's gone out here that says, anyone wonders the kickoff time for Sunday? Liverpool 16:30, obviously the 24-hour clock, 4:30 Spurs, 17:32.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Superb. It's honestly superb. People that don't know the 24-hour
later, mate. Yeah, exactly.
We've just lost a whole raft of people that don't know the 24-hour clock. But if you do, obviously you will get that analogy. You really will do. So essentially Spurs turning up in the second half.
Are there people that don't know the 24-hour clock? I actually thought it was just my kids.
I don't know. Let us know tomorrow morning when you're listening back to this if you got that. If you didn't get that, then I really apologise for that. And all I'm trying to refer to the fact is that will probably turn up in the second half of the game. So Lee, mate, loads of you back on. Thank you so much. Lots more Champions Ignites in the tank for Lee, for of course Jace, and also Cracks as well. Cracks, Liverpool, they are going to be without Diogo Jota, Naby Keita, Young Matip, and Luis Diaz. And before you ask me, no, Dave O'Cop did not tell me that.
Oh, Rick, poor old Dave O'Cop. Like Jay said, depends what Spurs turn up in reference to personnel, and then it depends what Spurs turns up in reference to what Spurs turns up like it's been all season. So again, lick your finger, throw it in the air, and see which way the wind blows. You just can't. You can't predict Tottenham at the moment. You cannot predict what we're going to do. So I don't know. It's you can't put Spurs in an acca at the moment, can you? You can't have Tottenham in an accumulator. So let's see. Maybe Sonny's just bruised and has to wear a protective mask like Kane did.
I think we have to be conscious of Cracks. I think that if he's deemed to have concussion by Premier League protocol rules, he has to recover for 6 days, which means he will not be able to face Liverpool, even if he wanted to or Spurs wanted him to, which would be a real shame.
Yeah, but we don't know if he is concussed. He looked it, didn't he? Then Bentancur.
If it's eye and cheekbone, he's probably not concussed. If it's a blow to the head, it's different. So blow to the face, I think, he's taken.
I suppose whoever deems, I suppose that has to be subject to a doctor's report, right? I presume whoever has to do that will have to make that judgment, and then we'll obviously know more close to the time, Rich.
Well, it's partly his decision as well. He's got to feel right, hasn't he? And I mean, let's be honest. Would he be a loss at the moment? The way he's been playing.
Exactly. Yeah. He's just not been tearing it up at all, has he? It's Rick. It's just you can't predict it. We'll have to see what personnel we've got, and then just see how we approach the game again. But they're having similar issues to us. Midfield's a bit all over the place for them at the moment. They just seem to be a little bit up and down with their performances. So it's definitely one that could end up 0-0 as much as it could end up 4-0 or 0-4. It really is. It's
away
all over
from
the
home.
place.
They've been shocking.
They haven't won away yet. Have they? That's
I mean, if you honestly think we haven't been great, and we're 10 points clear of Liverpool.
Well, that's why again, I think the game at the weekend is so pivotal. If Spurs go and win and put a 13-point gap in between those two, I mean, no one would ever see that happening, would they? And even by the way Spurs are playing, Lee, I'm sure you agree, with a 13-point gap in there, I don't see Liverpool chewing that up very quickly. Do you, Lee? What do you think on that?
No, and that's why I think it's really important. I mean, if they go and beat us on the weekend. Yeah, we end up dropping out of the top 4, but essentially, or we're there or thereabouts, and it all closes it up. A win for us almost consolidates third place, doesn't it? I don't want to be disrespectful to Leeds because they played brilliantly against them the other day. We still got to play them as well. But look, guys, girls, listeners, right? Let's be viewers. Just be brutally honest. We've got 2 home games. We need to be backing ourselves at home.
Absolutely.
To beat these teams. Regardless, Liverpool are not Liverpool of last season in the Premier League. Liverpool are 9th and struggling. So we have to take advantage. And I banged this drum so much last year when I said we need other teams to step up and take points off of the top 2, which is Liverpool City. And they've been doing that, which is a good thing. Don't let the Arsenal thing cloud your judgment. It's a good thing for Spurs that other teams are stepping up because we can't do it on our own. We're the
Well,
only
we-
team. We're the only team who were unbeaten against Liverpool and City last season. Like, it can't just be us. It has to be.
No,
other
I
teams.
get you. I mean,
But we've got to take points off them. It's our job. We've got to turn up Sunday and take points off them.
Agree. Within bloody reason, though, the way Arsenal are playing right now, I am getting quite concerned. They just keep winning. I mean, at some point, that's got to stop for our own mental health, please. God. Cracks is back alongside me on Sunday. We've got a really good show we're bringing you Sunday evening. That'll be instant reaction on that one. But the boys are going to be here for the Champions League campaign to come. It's been a real pleasure. We've gone original tonight. We've had the real great fill factor around what's been a crazy, another brilliant last word on Spurs show.
Crazy train, mate.
Honestly, always. Lee, mate, thank you so much. It's a late one. Appreciate it as always, mate. Lots more of these hopefully to come with a lovely, shiny something at the end of it. Please, God.
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to bed, Rick. I don't know what you're referring to, fella. But maybe you're thinking of trophies, mate. But you know what I mean.
Always a lower the tone, didn't he? Had to lower the tone. Jace, thank you so much, mate. Pleasure as always.
Cheers, Davo.
I appreciate it. Cracks, quick mention. I know you got a couple of gigs potentially lined up at the moment. Cracks coming and dying. Anything you want to give a quick mention to? Anything last minute people can lay their hands on? No innuendo there, just to be clear.
Where are you putting your hands, Crackers?
They're here. Here they are. Look, jazz hands. We've got night at Dartford, South East Thames Spurs with Ledley King. I think there's 1 or 2 spare tickets. That's coming up in mid-November. Echo 61 have got a World Cup night with Razor Ruddock, so I'll be doing that. There's a few bits. Just have a look upon the socials, and then that's me done until 2023, and then back in March, I think end of Feb, March of next year. We've got some big shows coming up then. So, it's 2 or 3 this month, but I think they're nearly all sold out. But Echo 61 and South East Thames Spurs, Gloucester Spurs, Wales. So just keep an eye on the socials. Thank you.
We're going to wheel him back out for a last one, I suppose, Christmas edition as well. We've got to bring him over here, charter him over for that. So we're looking forward to that. Please, as always, from the wonderful Lee McQueen, from the brilliant Richard Cracknell, from the superb Jason McGovern, and from Dave O'Cott, you're going to hear, of course, on the audio preview. Please, as always, keep safe, keep well. We're back with you on Sunday night. Thanks for all the love. Spurs are in the last 16 of the Champions League. Here we come. As always, come on, you Spurs.